If this is the first time you're listening to the Wealthy Wednesday show, please remember to subscribe and click on the like button. Are you ready to change your money flow? Would you like to get beyond the six figures that you keep bumping up against? Well, let me tell you, my book, Magical Money Manifestations, is going to help you create money manifestations on autopilot so that you will have more money, more freedom, and more joy in your life. Go to magicalmoneymanifestations.com to find out more information. Welcome to the Wealthy Wednesday show. I am your host, Lucy McMonagle. Women are recreating the rules for business, leadership, money, and they are changing the world in the process. Each week, join me for empowering messages and interviews that will inspire, motivate, and transform you. Giving a special shout out to Gordon Weary for creating the custom music that you are listening to now. Now, let's get started. Welcome to another edition of the Wealthy Wednesday show. This is your host, Lucy McMonagle, and today I am so excited that we have an incredible lady. Not only is she incredible, she is Jacqueline T.D. Huynh, and she talks about the four faces of fear, understanding and turning it into your biggest asset. So ladies, if you have fear in your life, even if you're not quite sure what that fear is, we have an expert that's going to help you become not only a better entrepreneur, but a better parent, and to help you to move forward in your life. So Jacqueline is also a radio show host and producer for Parent Pump Radio, a #1 best-selling author of the amazing itty bitty book on family leadership. And she's a certified master in neuro-linguistic programming, also known as NLP. She's a public speaker, a trainer, and a coach, and she speaks on the topics of leadership development, dynamic communication, engagement, and time management, because we need to have all of those together in order for you to be successful in your business. She specializes in helping parents leave a multi-generational legacy of wealth and life and leadership and financial freedom. And as a conscious woman entrepreneur that's listening to this, you are a perfect fit for creating that legacy that you want, whether it's with your family or not. So please go grab a pen, grab a pencil, and take notes, because this is going to be a powerful interview with Jacqueline. So Jacqueline, welcome to the Wealthy Wednesday show.
Thank you for having me.
Wow, you are so incredible. Your history is powerful. For your parents coming over here from Vietnam, and you were just a little wee one, and then you're being able to go into the corporate world, and now you're a corporate coach, and you also help parents. So can you tell us a little bit of how do you work with fear with the entrepreneurs, and what are the old ways of reacting to fear?
Yeah, I work with a lot of family members and business owners and entrepreneurs, and fear seems to just kind of be part of our life. We just think it is, that's how it is. And we just, when it comes up, we don't do anything, right? The old way of fear is feeling like it's this gigantic boulder coming at us, and you only have three choices: fight, flee, or freeze.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, the new way, which is the way I teach fear, is that it has actually many shapes, many dimensions, and actually many levels. It's like an equation that you learn as a tool on how to solve it. And fear is not bad. We somehow have either been told or created that limiting belief that fear is bad. But you and I know that some part of fear may be bad. The part of fear that holds us back is not good for us, right? Because it limits us.
Yes.
But there's a part of fear that is protecting us. And so we have to know, be able to decipher the two. Is this the fear that's really protecting me, right? The fear that this guy, that's your man, is not treating you well and you should be leaving that relationship, but you're not. That's the fear that's protecting you. The fear that you should go back to school or maybe pursue that new endeavor, but you've never done it before. And how could you be good enough to pursue that endeavor? That may be a fear that's limiting you. So what is it? So that's the old way. That's the new way of fear. And do you want me to talk about the 4 faces of it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Explain what is the 4 faces of fear? Because you said there's many layers of fear.
Right.
And they must come up in different faces.
Absolutely. So the 4 faces of it is the levels. The first one, the level is more on the outside. It's called limiting beliefs. And we've all heard of this, right? This is the least charge, actually, of the 4 fear blocks. And it usually comes from society, culture, or a family expectation, or the way the world has just kind of taught us to not speak up. Like, for example, we've heard this, there's never going to be a woman president. There's never going to be a black man that's president, but guess someone broke that rule, right? And there's going to be a woman or a girl that's going to believe that that's not true. That's not going to be belief that society is going to tell her, and she's going to become our first woman president. You and I know that, right? So that is something that comes from the outside. So it's the least charge. Another one is good kids follow order, or adults know more than kids, right? Those are things that come from society, family expectation. And so you grow up and you're like, I don't know that much. Or you become a parent and then you're just ordering your kids around because you're supposed to know more than them. And then you become a dictator, and nobody wants to be around a dictator.
That's true. That is so true.
Right? Not your coworker, not your children. And if you have parents like that, you do not want to be around them. So that's the first face of fear, and that's the least charge. And it's the easiest to kind of question, like you could just say, where did that belief come from? Where did I get that? Did I read that? And you can, what's a better belief that I have? It's easier to get over. The second phase of fear goes a little bit deeper. It's called interpretation. And this is somebody says or does something and you make up a story and you believe it's true, right? We are stuck in one perspective. And the reality is, Lucy, you and I know that whatever the situation and whatever someone said, there's millions of different interpretations.
Yes, maybe more than a million, maybe a couple of billion.
Yeah, and interpretation isn't bad or good. It's how we take it as a meaning, how we interpret it, right? So a woman could be in a bar, and a guy takes her number, and she thinks that they had a good conversation. He doesn't call her. How could she interpret that? There must be something wrong with me. All these men, they're just the same way. That's how she could interpret it, which is very negative. It could just be that he had a good conversation. He thought maybe he was interested, but then he's not. Maybe he lost her number. I don't know. Right?
Exactly.
And so that is our way of looking at things. So obviously we can focus on certain things and it could increase our fear. We can focus on something that's more empowering that will basically empower us more. So the third phase of fear is a little more charged. It has more emotion. It's actually the second most emotionally charged. It's called assumption. And this is believing that something that happened to you in the past, that something that actually happened to you in the past, or maybe someone that your parents, but that is going to happen again. So from evidence or experience, you believe that that's true. And this is where the saying of, it took, is it Benjamin Franklin? Now I can't think of the person that invented the light bulb. Thomas Edison, right. There's that saying that says he tried 10,000 times and before he figured it out, right? He did not assume that I'm a failure after 1,000 times, after 5,000 times. He just says, you know what? There just must be another way. I'm just going to keep looking for another way. Mm-hmm. So another one that you hear with assumption is in a relationship, you'll hear people say, well, he always does this.
Yeah, that's true. That's a common one.
Yeah. Or she's never going to change, right? So assumption uses those words like always, never, very definitive words. You watch out for when you start hearing yourself say that, because once the word comes out, it already formed in your thought. Mm-hmm. And in neurolinguistic programming, that's what we study on, is what's in your thought. That's what's important. Before you do and say anything, you already believe it. And so don't believe that the always and the never. And just because you did something that didn't work in the past, or just because your dad did it or your best friend did it, it didn't work, doesn't mean that it's not going to work for you. And the last one, this is your inner critic. We right. This is the most emotionally charged. It's the most deeply rooted inside of you. It's highly personal. It's something that you say about yourself, and it usually starts with an I statement. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not talented. I'm not smart. I'm not successful. I'm not worthy. I'm not lovable. I'm not safe. But basically it comes down to I'm not good enough in some way.
Wow, that is charged.
And
for
you
a
can
lot
tell
of individuals.
For a lot of us, yeah. And in different ways. For some people, it has to do with their beauty or their talent. For other, it's just their worth, or that they're not lovable enough, right? Mm-hmm. And so, as you can see, there's different level, right? The first one was just about, hey, the unemployment rate's really high. You're not going to find a job. Not so fearful. Like, okay, well, maybe I can do it. But when you're saying to yourself, I'm not smart enough to go out there and look for a new job. I need to stay with this one. I'm never going to get anything better. You start hearing yourself saying, I, that is your inner critic, is not who you are, is imagine it as this little devil on your shoulder mm-hmm. that is saying these things. And it's not about you. It's really about that inner critic. And you have to ask yourself, is this true? And what can I do to make a difference?
That's true. You can ask those questions. And when some of the entrepreneurs, the women entrepreneurs that are moving forward in their business, and they're bumping up against the financial glass ceiling, and maybe they have a child that's sick at home, or maybe they're a single parent now, and they just have this deep desire to move forward. When that inner critic starts hopping on their shoulder and feeding them negative gossip, as I would call it, that's not a term you would use, but
yeah,
what is there something that person can do aside from say, is this true? Is there some kind of a technique?
What I do is I have my clients name their inner critic. And it could be, and don't name it someone don't name it your ex-husband, or that,
That's a good tip.
Yeah, okay. And for me, I think of it like a gremlin or a puffer fish, right? Mm-hmm. I'm aging myself when I say gremlin, right? It's this cute little thing, but then when you water it, it's like, when you feed the fear, it just gets crazy, right? And I call mine, my inner critic, puffer fish. I shorten it to puffer, because the puffer fish, he's fine, he's swimming around, but then when he thinks there's danger, he puffs up and looks, all crazy and is pokey and doesn't want anybody near him. And it's just like more fearful, right? Like he makes it even worse. And so whenever I have these fear comes up, I say, okay, puffer, you know what? Thank you. I talk to him. Thank you so much for showing me this fear. I do feel that maybe somehow I'm not smart enough to take on this adventure in my business. But I know that you're just trying to protect me, because that's what we have to understand, that I probably should mention, is that fear is trying to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
It wants you to stay the same place, not do anything different, kind of staying in your little tiny world, because with that, it knows it has control.
Yes.
Right? You have control. Nothing, you can't be let down. You're not, you know everything that's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Your subconscious mind, which is where fear reside, is like a 6 or 7 year old child. And it wants you to keep yourself in that place, like a 6 or 7, where things were just really easy and you don't, step out. And so you want to tell it, like, thank you so much for keeping me safe. And I know you want to keep me at that 6 or 7 year old, but could you help me, instead of using fear to keep me at 6 or 7 years old, let's work together. Mm-hmm. Let's use this fear energy to motivate, what could happen if I don't do this? So that's what you can ask yourself, is say, hey, Gremlin, hey, Puffer, hey, Charlie, whatever you want to name it. What could happen if I don't step out and I stay in this job? Do I want to be here 10 years from now? Do I want to stay in the same position? And what would it look like if I was the manager? What would it look like if I could make $20,000 a month, and be able to help the people that I want to help? What would that look like? Wouldn't that be exciting? Right? So you get your fear to work with you instead of against you.
That is so powerful. And fear actually is meant to keep us safe. It's meant to keep us protected. In you were talking in the beginning of this interview that fear has many different faces and there's different layers. Are there any layers that are beneficial, or is there anything that fear is here to teach us?
Yes. And so there's 3 things that fear can teach us. 1, it means that we're growing. Okay. Just think about it. It's like, I use this example. It's like going from 3rd grade to 4th grade. Right? You can't stay in 3rd grade forever. There comes a point where you got to move up, and it's a little scary, going from middle school to high school to college. It's scary, but that means that you're growing. You're growing mentally, you're growing physically, you're growing emotionally and intellectually. And so know that when fear does come up, it means that you're growing, and it tells us that we're moving forward and that you're going to be out of your comfort zone. Things are going to hurt a little bit. Mm-hmm. It's going to be unfamiliar. It's going to be challenging. But know that you're going to be bigger, better, and brighter than you've ever been before. Right? Look back in your past and notice what's happened in your life when you stepped out beyond your comfort zone, whether it's losing weight, going to the gym, whether it's expanding your business a little more. Right? It was a little painful, it was a little difficult, but when you did it, it made you stronger. The second thing that fear can teach us is that we're always stronger than we think.
Mm-hmm. Well, we certainly are.
Right? And if we don't experience these things, we're stuck. We don't realize what our true potential as human beings are.
That's true.
And it's in the fear, it's being in the fears at the obstacle course that you just keep going, that you realize how much you were meant to be in this world, what your purpose is. How are you going to find out your purpose if you don't step out?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then the third thing is, fear shows us what is the best thing that could happen. This is what I talked about earlier. Instead of saying, this could hurt me, you want to ask yourself, what on the other spectrum, what's the best thing that could happen? Mm-hmm. We often think too much of the negative scenario, if I leave my job, I might be sleeping on the couch. If I leave my husband, I am going to be alone somewhere with nowhere to go. If I don't step out on exercising and lose my weight, then what's going to happen to me? I'm not going to have any life, a social life, or I'm going to die of a heart attack. What's going on, right? But think about, what would it look like? What's the best thing that could happen? And when you focus on the best case scenario, you will actually ease your fear.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Right? We feed our fear if we keep thinking of the worst case scenario. So my challenge for the listener is, the next time fear comes up, focus on the best case scenario. Mm-hmm. See what happens. Journal it. Hey, this is the best thing that could happen. These are things that I think, if I stepped out and did it, these are the best case, and just focus on that. You will be surprised what the tremendous power of vision, purpose, and positive thought will create.
That's true. That is so very true. And what's really important is when you journal, when you write it out, when you look at what's the best case scenario. And as an example, if you shoot for the moon, at worst, you'll hit a couple of stars.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes you can, look at the best case scenario as the grand and as big as you can imagine, and then push it beyond that.
Yeah. And that's what, one thing I remember Oprah saying, and I think she probably quoted from other people too, but, dream so big that you can't even imagine how that could happen. Mm-hmm. Because exactly. At the best case scenario, you're going to get that. Mm-hmm. And the worst case, like you said, you'll hit the stars. But either way, you're going to be so much better off than where you are, stuck, not moving.
Mm. And that's painful when you're stuck and not moving.
Right. I think that's more painful on a fear level than trying. So grab your fear, whatever you want to name it, grab him and say, let's do this together. Thank you. Thank you for showing me that where I need to look, because that's the other thing too, is fear is part of also your intuition. Mm. And so you need to get really, really connected with your intuition. And one of the ways to do this is through being centered and grounded. And meditation is one way. You can walk. People will walk on the beach, in the park. Being in nature will help people get grounded and centered, and go deep into your intuition. It will tell you what that fear is and how you can use it. It will subside your fear.
Mm. And that's so important to not make fear your enemy, but to subside it and to actually make it a friend of yours so that it can be used for you rather than against you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you mentioned earlier that fear resides in the subconscious mind. Can you explain a little bit more about that, and how do we find that hidden fear that's deep down in our subconscious?
Well, our subconscious mind runs over 90% of our body. People don't realize it, right? You don't have to think about heart beating, eyes blinking, your stomach digesting food. It does that. Mm-hmm. Your subconscious mind also stores memory and emotions, both negative and positive. And so obviously the emotion can create the fear depending on what you've experienced in your lifetime, right? Your subconscious mind also works best when there's consistency, boundary, and simplicity. So basically, it's a 7-year-old child, right? It mm-hmm. needs something that's done over and over again. It needs that boundary to know where it can go, and it needs it very simple. You can't give a child 10 steps and expect it to him or her to do it. It's like 2 simple steps. take off your clothes, go brush your teeth, right?
Yes.
And your subconscious mind is like that. So your subconscious mind is also responsible for learning, behavior, and change.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why you need repetition for it to go deep in there. You need to drive to your work a number of times, and then you don't even have to think about it, and you're there.
Correct.
To loop back, what your question was, how fear resides there. That's because that emotion, things that happen to you in your childhood, things that happen to you in relationships that have caused negative emotion, is stored in your subconscious. And so how I use neuro-linguistic program, NLP, to get into the subconscious, erase the virus. Think of it as a computer, right? We're born as a brand new pristine computer. So right. And then as we are playing on the computer, downloading games and apps and just go on the internet, as we go through life, we will attract viruses. It's going to slow us down. And instead of trying to get more programs, try it to work, let's just go back and erase the virus.
I love that.
Right? Those negative emotions, those negative beliefs, those negative limiting thoughts. And so that's how I use NLP is I do a 2-day in-depth one-on-one, and really I do 1 day is full questionnaire on everything that's their belief, whether negative emotions are coming through. And the second day, it's all going into the subconscious mind where all of these memories and emotions are stored, and we delete what doesn't work and we install what works.
Wow.
So it's
that
like,
is cool.
And it's really a powerful, powerful way of rebooting yourself.
And that's really important to be able to reboot, because every once in a while, whether you're a Mac computer or if you're a Commodore 386, depending on your processing, you have to reboot every once in a while. You have to clean out the viruses. You have to clean out the areas on your computer, and you have to defrag it, as we call it.
Yep.
And we can honestly do that in our subconscious mind using NLP.
Yeah, we can do that. You can use it, do it in meditation. There's, if there's books on how to do it, you can go on YouTube. I mean, there's so much wealth of information. For me, I have clients that want to work with me one-on-one, and they want me to guide them and lead them. But if you are not in the financial place right now to see me for 2 days straight and it's just me, then there's so much research. We talk about this, right? Internet. You can go on YouTube and find out, just do NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Program, NLP, how to rid of limiting thoughts. You can get books on it, and you can read it, and you can do it to yourself. It takes more time, takes more research, but you can do it yourself. It's in the subconscious mind. It's not in the conscious mind, because consciously, you know that you are good enough. You know that you're smart enough. You know that I want to make $20,000 a month, and I'm going to set that goal. I want to lose 50 pounds in 2008, right? I want to get a great relationship. Consciously, you know how to set those things, and you know those things are good for you. But then why do millions of Americans not reach their goal?
That's true. And a lot of it is buried in their subconscious mind.
It's because your subconscious mind says, what do you mean you want to make 20,000? You're not good enough to make that. There's no way that I'm going to help you do that, because you are not good enough. That is unsafe for you to try to step out of that and do that. You are going to get hurt. You're going to get trampled on, and I'm not going to put you in a place that may hurt you. So
That's
you're
true.
talking about 10% of conscious mind fighting against 90% of the subconscious mind. Who do you think is going to win?
Probably the 90%.
Right. And that's why so many people, by the end of January, the gym is empty again.
That's true. That is so true. And now, Jacqueline, we're going to be wrapping up very shortly, and I just had a couple more questions for you
Sure.
before we wrap up. And you mentioned that people can go on to the YouTube, they can go online, they can get a book, and they can look up neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, and how to rid negative thoughts or belief systems. But you're also offering a complimentary session. Is that
Yeah.
correct? Can
Yes.
you talk a little bit about what that entails and how would people get a hold of that? And do they when you say people see me for 2 days in a row, you mean physically see you where you're
I do.
located, or
No, no, no. I do
explain?
things through Skype or Zoom.
Okay.
Uh, uh, for those that have worked with me, it has been phenomenally successful, and they don't have to be driving. They don't have to fly to me. We, with technology today, we're as close as our living room. And so I
Mm-hmm.
do everything through Skype and Zoom. I find it much more empowering to my client because instead of me doing the techniques on them, I teach them how to do the techniques on themselves. So
Awesome.
they learn how to anchor emotions on themselves so that
Mm-hmm.
later on they can anchor the great emotions that the positive emotions that they're experiencing. They learn how to get rid of anxiety using timeline work, and they
Mm-hmm.
do it. I teach them how to do it for themselves so they don't have to be dependent on me. My goal for my client is that I remove myself as their crutch, that they are whole and complete, and I am just installing the right program. And that if they need to check in with me, I have clients that would check in with me once a month, once every 2 months, when something comes up and they're like, this came up and I need your outside opinion. Can we walk this through? You know, I just got offered a new job. I don't know if I want to take it or whatever it is. And then I would talk to my client. We would talk it through. But my full goal is not to have to see my client every week, once a week, right? We want to wean that off. And so the first thing I do is it's called a breakthrough session. So we're breaking
Mm-hmm.
through all of that stuff that you've been hanging on to, all that virus, and we're defragging your computer mind and resetting it with all the powerful, powerful things that you want to believe in yourself, in your subconscious mind. And then we set goals, and I'm then the accountability partner to help them keep their goals and change it, move it, you know, adjusting it. So what I'm offering to your listener is a 30-minute complimentary session where we can discover where they are, where they want to be, and either how I can help them or how I can guide them to a place where they can be in a much better place than where they are.
Fabulous. And how would individuals get a hold of this?
Yes, so they can email me at Jackie, JACQUE, at integrativeminds with an S.com, and tell me that they heard it on the show. And I will work out a schedule with them, and then we can do a Zoom or Skype call.
Fabulous. So they can be anywhere in the world,
Absolutely.
and then they can still do the Zoom or Skype call, and that's completely complimentary.
Yes.
And it's a breakthrough session to help them find out if working with you would be appropriate for where they're at. And
Yeah.
it'll help them at least have some ideas on what's preventing them from moving forward. Is
Yeah.
that
And
correct?
along with it, I'm going to teach them how to manifest tranquility, peace, when and in the moment when they are stressed. So that's my little bonus. In 5 minutes, I can teach them a technique that will reduce their stress instantly and get them focused and grounded. So that even if they're at work, they're at home, once they learn this technique, they would totally calm.
Fabulous. That is absolutely awesome. So I want to thank you for being on the Wealthy Wednesday show. And is there any last tips you'd like to leave our audience with before we say our farewells?
I would say My last tip is every day focus on one thing that's positive that you would want in your life.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Well, Jacqueline, thank you for being on the Wealthy Wednesday show. This
Thank
has
you.
been so incredible. I've learned so much about fear and the 4 faces of fear and the 3 ways that fear actually tries to help us, and that you're so capable of rebooting your mind
Yeah.
and rebooting your subconscious, which rules your reality and your world. So that is powerful, and I'm so grateful. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I want to thank my audience. You are the reason why I put together this Wealthy Wednesday show every single week. And I want to thank my audience for helping me make my book, Magical Money Manifestations, the #1 bestseller in US, and it was an international bestseller. Didn't get to #1 internationally, but it did get up to the bestseller list. I want to thank you for helping me get my book up to #1 in the United States. And if you haven't purchased my book, Magical Money Manifestations, go to Amazon, pick up the book. This will help you start getting ready to reboot and reprogram your mind, but it'll also help you manifest more money, more freedom, and more joy in your life. So until next time, abundant blessings.
Thank you for listening to the Wealthy Wednesday show. This is your host, Lucy McMonagle. I am the Mystic Wealth Creator, a mentor for conscious women entrepreneurs, helping them create more freedom in their business through conscious wealth creation. I would love to extend to you a free gift. And all you need to do is go to my website at lucymcmonagle.com. That's LucyMcmonagle.com to get your free gift. So until next time, abundant blessings.